Hi, I'm Leyla Salvade. Welcome to the Lightstyle interview series. Today I have the absolute joy to interview Erwin Benedict Valencia. He is a performance hacker, social entrepreneur, and mentor to many. Hi, Erwin.
Hi. Greetings, salutations.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
He's also one of my dearest friends, so I'm so excited to interview him today and share his incredible story with you guys.
And I'm so excited myself.
So, tell us your story. You're one of the most inspiring people I am blessed to call a friend. So, tell us about yourself.
Well, what is there to say and how do we start? My life's been pretty interesting, to say the least, and I've been very blessed to have so many experiences and meet so many people in my life that have not only inspired me to be the man that I am today, but also allow me to share that man and that person who becomes a source of inspiration to many and to others as well. So I was born across the river, and from this angle, you could see the state across the river in good old New Jersey. I lived in multiple places around the world, growing up from Houston, Texas, to Manila in the Philippines, to San Jose, California, Japan, Indonesia, and with a brief stint in your old stomping grounds in Zurich, Switzerland. And I have found myself to always figure out a way to not only experience life to the fullest in every possible way, but also share that experience with the many people that serve as mentees in my life. I think I am first and foremost a mentor to many, even though I say that I'm a performance hacker to start with, but my biggest passion in life and the gift I give to a lot of people is the fact that I can give them experiences themselves. And I feel like that has been my lifelong calling. And whether that's in the space of the coaching realm of things, or whether that's just merely having people that intern underneath me or some sort, it makes me feel fulfilled that I'm creating a legacy, and not just for myself, but for a ripple effect for each other. That the people I mentor, they find themselves creating their own legacies. And for me, I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can all give.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Besides that, I am currently the director of training and conditioning for the New York Knicks. A lifelong dream that I dreamed about since I was 18. I visualized this in my head, and I asked myself how I could basically be in the NBA, since the Philippines is a massive, massive NBA loving country. And I found myself figuring out that if I couldn't be an athlete, then maybe the gift I could give is to be the superstar behind the superstar, the person that makes the athlete even better than who they are. And today, in my job with the New York Knicks, I'm able to hack performance in every possible way in order to bring these athletes on my current team the ability to do their best and to be their best versions of themselves in every possible way, including the fitness levels and the mindfulness of aspects of things, and even make them more aware of their bodies and their breathing. So I'm very lucky to be the position I'm in, and it's a dream come true, not only for myself, but for millions of Filipinos out there. I guess one of the last things that I'd like to share is that I also am a social entrepreneur. I've started, I guess, a number of companies now, based all over the world, that is focused on kind of mentorship concept as well, where it's not necessarily teaching and doing kind of sports medicine conferences, but rather creating experiences so that the learning experience gets shared amongst people. And then it creates connections that last for a longer period of time rather than just that event. So the company is called Kinetic, and we are in the phase of kind of, in a sense, kind of rebranding it for a bigger perspective, because now we're looking at curating spaces and curating events in a more, I guess, global manner, and hoping to use digital media to scale that. So besides that, obviously the Grasshopper Project, which is underneath that, and is also my personal favorite thing, is basically a project that I'm currently working on, hopefully to formally launch itself by the end of December, which will be more of a true mentorship program for anyone that's interested in moving to that next level. And whether or not you can call it a coaching program or whether you just call it an experience program. I mean, it allows people to be living a high performance lifestyle. So very Lightstyle-ish.
One thing I love about you is you take your Grasshopper project, your mentoring project, so seriously. And I've seen it in real life where so many people come into your life and you just embrace them with open arms so kindly, and it's a really beautiful thing. So explain that process a little bit more, because so many people, when you get to a certain level, you give back, right? And you just are you're the epitome of that kind of that work.
The Grasshopper Project started really formally when I started my company, Kinetic. Kinetic, as a social enterprise, followed as we started the Tom Shoes model. It was if you bought one, then you would give one. And because I didn't really have a product per se, my product was, in a sense, education. And a lot of times the gurus, because we call it gurus and grasshoppers, the gurus who we would send over to, whether that's Japan or whether that's Europe or somewhere, that would give some of our classes and some of our workshops, we asked ourselves, how can we create a give back situation that's already embedded in it without having to create some hoopla about it? So what we did is that we had a grasshopper that or a mentee assigned to that guru, whether it's myself or whether it's a colleague of mine coming in from a different part of the planet who is an expert in their field, where we allow that grasshopper to create a bond with this guru, so that while they are, let's say, in Tokyo, Japan, then we had somebody assigned to that person, one of our gurus. So the grasshopper and the guru create a relationship where, and then there's not only a learning experience throughout the process of how to become a speaker and how to become a workshop leader, but also learning firsthand who that person really is. The start of all of this was because of the fact that when I was younger and going through school, it was tough for me to try to get true mentorship. My goal was to get to the NBA. My goal was to be the first Filipino in the NBA. And I didn't have anyone to look up to for that. I didn't have any idols, I guess is the right word, to say who's made it that I can follow and I can find myself following that path. I didn't have anyone to do that. And so when I finally went through the process and made it to what I believe is what's successful in my life, I said, how can I then incorporate that when I started that program that I had, or when I started when I started Kinetic. And so for every Kinetic event, we always had a grasshopper involved. And so we also had a Connect event involved, which is if you weren't able to afford as a professional to go to one of our classes, then if you were a student or somebody who was younger, like a high school kid that just was interested in being in the sports world, we created like a small Q&A event that allowed you to ask these questions to these gurus in a cafe, at a karaoke bar, somewhere where it was less educational and less formal, but more of a chill atmosphere. And so that gave it, and that's how we quote scaled it. But also we focused on that one person to be, in a sense, the grasshopper for that guru, so that then as that grasshopper grows into the person that they want to be, that guru will guide him or her to be able to get there. And so right now, it's become not just something that is part of my company, but now it's even part of who I am and my own personal brand, where I take it to the next level. If having grasshoppers in the sense, when we teach our workshops is one thing, how do you then make it even funkier? You make it funkier by giving them life experiences together. And so I think a number of years ago, I realized that my story and my path to success was inspiring to many. And the emails I started getting from a lot of Filipinos and non-Filipinos alike around the world about the process I went through was so interesting for them that they wanted to be part of it. And so I always challenged everyone first and said, look, if you know exactly what you want, you feel like you get at a certain level, and you have the ability to push yourself to that next level, then let's have a 30-minute, 45-minute coffee chat somewhere, normally at the Ace Hotel, and see where we go with this. And I always challenge them with 3 main questions, and if they can answer some of these questions for me, and then we can move forward. I've been lucky enough to have some of them really push the envelope and fly here, or fly somewhere I am, and have a cup of coffee with me. And you've seen firsthand those who've come here. And I give them what you call the Grasshopper experience, which is now they come here, they fly from New Zealand or some place in some part of the planet, and then they next thing you know, they're not sleeping, they're waking up at 7 a.m., going to some dance party, alcohol-free and happy, not knowing what's really going on, and then see the Statue of Liberty within their first 6 hours here.
Daybreaker.
I know, which was Daybreaker. Or you have, let's say, even indirectly, somebody who's already up on in their own journeys, somebody who's already successful and found success, and sharing with them some insights to my world, not necessarily making it truly a Grasshopper experience, but giving that feel to it. And this allows them to know what the world I live in and see how that compares to theirs, and then give them the insights that maybe I would learn that they wouldn't. So it's become, instead of a true guru grasshopper situation, it's become more of a sharing. And Kinetic, my company, has always had the motto to share knowledge. And we do that with the company as we do it with the workshops, but I'd also do it for myself and the people that I share these experiences with.
You integrate mindfulness in all realms of your life. What was that moment that sparked this kind of spiritual awakening, enlightenment to a more mindful life?
You know, it's funny. I think the beginning and the genesis of all of this was when I was actually really young. I was either 12 years old or 14 when I was introduced to the Silva method. I found myself at such a young age looking to see how I can better myself, which is weird, being that personal growth is the world we live in. And I started looking at that at such a young age. I was reading a newspaper one day back in the Philippines, and I saw it literally in the Manila Bulletin, a little ad that said, increase your brain power and get better grades or something. And you know, you never know when you read these newspapers what really it's all about, but this one actually turned out to be something that literally changed my life. I said, increase brain power, cool, let's be like, I can get better grades. I mean, not that I wasn't already getting better grades, but how can I then improve myself even more? So I placed a call and asked them whether or not that, how much it cost and what my age was and how I can get in. And I think at the time it was maybe 50 or 60 American dollars, but for a 12, 13-year-old to kind of come up with that money in the Philippines when the money is obviously very different, I wasn't sure I can make it to that summer. So I had to literally wait till Christmas came and waited for my grandparents and my parents to give me the Christmas gifts, so to speak, and use that for the next summer and call them again. I said, you know, I have the money, I'm ready, I want to take your class. Is it still going on? I said, yeah. My parents at that time thought I was just joining a cult of some sort, but when I told them it had to do with a lot of brain power, and they said, will you get better grades? And I said, yes, it will. They're like, okay, we'll drop you off. And it was at the Intercontinental Hotel, I can remember so vividly. And this is where I learned the beginnings of mind mapping. And this is where I learned the beginnings of how to use more of your brain. And it made me interested in that whole fact that the brain is such a gift that many of us don't harness. I was bending spoons. I was, feeling like the last light bender type situation. It was kind of funky.
Actually bending spoon with your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. At that age, your brain is so pure, and you just your focus becomes so tremendous. But as you get older, there's so much clutter, and so you never get to harness as much of it. And I know that because I was able to bend a little bit. But when I looked at my classmates, some of them really bent it really well. And then I get cluttered because then I get so focused on them. How come they can do it better than me? Then
You go into ego mind.
yeah, I went to ego mind, and then the ability kind of was lost. But it allowed me then to learn the basic understanding of meditation. It allowed me to know the steps I could take in order to get to that place, which up to this day, this is how I do it. So it's kind of an interesting process, coupled with, as I was going through high school, a good friend of mine gave me a book called The Celestine Prophecy.
One of my
James
favorites.
Fairfield, yeah. It's one of the first true personal growth books that I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was spirituality or whatever. And, but then it let me learn that there's something bigger out there, and that we all have our abilities to share with other people and to feel from other people. Auras and coincidences, and you just start thinking about all this stuff, and you're just like, wow.
Synchronicities.
Synchronicity. There's something bigger in life that makes us move, something that allows us to move as human beings and to live this life to the fullest. So, and that was kind of when it all really started, really growing in that aspect. And I was still, at the time, 16. So it was kind of interesting. And what really catapulted me to the next level was a combination of a hard year, which was 2013, which was the year after I left baseball, but also was a year where I went through a pretty roller coaster of a relationship. And it sparked me to really go into the personal growth world, and combining finding myself within a niche of the sports performance and sports leaders in this world through Leaders in Performance, and then finding myself at Burning Man, and then finishing my 2013 with Awesomeness Fest in Dominican Republic. It made me realize that there's so much bigger in this world, and particularly because when I was at Awesomeness Fest in Dominican, I met the daughter of Jose Silva, who I told Laura Silva, I said, your father's work 25 years ago started my whole process. And she was like, oh my God, really? She goes, I still have that book. I still have the booklet that I got from the Philippines. It's still pristine. It's still like a comic book, because I kept it in a Tupperware. And she was like, oh my God, we need to put you on something. And ironic, it wasn't just me. Vishen himself was a Silva Method product.
Really?
Yeah, because it was big push in Asia.
Oh, no wonder.
So it's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
That I found myself there. We both found ourselves there. And first, I was talking to Jose Silva's granddaughter, and I said, "Are you guys Silva? Like the Silva Method? Like how are you guys affiliated?" And well, that's my grandfather. That's my mom's dad. I was like, what?
Synchronicity.
I know, and I knew then that I'm moving to the next level, both in the mind, body, and spirit world. So, which has brought me to where I am, and brought me to people like you.
Aw, thank you. And I mean, A-Fest brought us together,
Yeah.
and then you took me to my first burn. So, thank you for that.
And morning dance-a-thon.
Daybreaker, dancing in an Ariel costume at 6 a.m. overlooking the Statue of Liberty.
Exactly.
You know how to create an experience. What's that word you use?
The agent of experience.
Agent, yeah. Well, that's how we should have introduced you. You're the agent of experience, literally. I mean, I told you, and this goes back to also your mentorship, I've been in New York for, 3 years now, and it wasn't until we met that I finally felt at home, because you just have that open kindness and groundedness and worldliness as well, where you just, you know how to adapt and be open, and that's a rarity. combined with kindness. So, yeah. I want you to tell us about what brought you to San Jose, because there was a crazy incident, no, with your family that shifted you over there at a very young age.
Yeah, that is one of those things that is, if somebody asked me the question, what's one thing that a lot of people don't know about you, that is the question. I was 8 years old when coup d'etat was happening in the Philippines, when political unrest was occurring, when guerrillas in the mountains that were anti-government were trying to push for the dictatorship to end, and revolution was occurring in the Philippines, the Yellow Revolution as they call it. And as part of that, kidnappings were quite frequent. And as a grandson to a former politician, it was an interesting time for me because I was just young and enjoying playing in the sand with snails and spiders and marbles and everything else. And next thing you know, we would be in our golf club celebrating birthdays and hear gunshots, and we would hear about our family friends who would have their kids kidnapped and stuff. And I never would have thought at that age in my life that anything would become close to having me involved or having my family involved. And a relative of my mother, my uncle, on my mom's side, he was a medium. He had visions in his head, and he would help even the cops kind of find certain dead bodies that were missing for quite some time. And he woke up one night in a crazy sweat, and he immediately picked up the phone and called my mother and said, "Get Erwin out of the country." I had a vision in my head, and he's going to be next. And obviously I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that my mom and dad packed my bags, and we tried to figure out some logistics, and next thing you know, I'm on a flight to San Jose, California to live with my godfather. At that time, I thought it was a long holiday. I was just, sure, cool, but I was like, "Are you guys coming with me?" And my parents like, "No, just you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but sure, long holiday. You guys are going to come anyways afterwards." So I ended up staying in San Jose with my godfather for about a year and a half. And my parents maybe visited like once or twice. And, from what I initially thought was a long holiday of me having bicycle clubs and playing around with my cousin's Cabbage Patch toys and all that other stuff, it turned out that it was a means for me to be safe. And I did not know that until I was 18.
Wow.
My parents sat me down and said, you know what the reason why you went to the States in the first place? I said, to learn how to become an American. and it's like, no. And they told me the story. And I was like, wow, I really had no idea that was going on. And because of that kind of incident, and not that there was a constant threat, because I was already independent and learning from that experience living with my uncle, it also made me learn to be okay with going on exchange programs, multiple exchange programs as I was growing up, which was in, just like being in Japan and being in Indonesia and stuff. And I was okay with living with other families because I started getting used to it at the age of 8. Mm-hmm. I was on a plane by myself at 8 years old. And it wasn't anything I was fearful of because I enjoyed it for some strange reason. Just traveling alone, which has become my life. Mm-hmm. Just being able to experience something where you don't know what's next. And at 8, sitting down in the seat, having my wings, having a flight attendant guide me everywhere else, it's quite the experience. And I think I may have learned some of my suave moves at that age.
Oh, I bet you did. Can I please have another Shirley Temple?
No, and a roll, please.
A roll?
Like a dinner roll.
Oh.
Because you get one roll when you're sitting down on the plane, so one roll each when they give you a dinner roll.
Oh.
I would get my other seatmates dinner rolls because I was hungry and I was by myself. So
Hungry boy.
yeah,
Big mind to fill up.
exactly. Crayola, jumbo jets flying, you know, an occasional martini. Just kidding, no.
That's when you're really suave.
Shaken, not stirred, of course.
What would you say was one of your darkest moments in life?
That would probably be, that was 2013. And 2013 was the greatest year of my life because it was not just the highest of high of meeting people and finding myself to the next level, but also the lowest where I was in a relationship that I did have control of. And, I was with somebody who's a phenomenal person, but she had her own kind of demons inside that needed to wrestle with, and I think initially thought I could save her from everything, and it was one of those things as a martyr, as a mentor, as a coach, as somebody, you feel like you can change everybody's lives, and if you have a struggle to try to do that, it really hits you hard, and not having control of that situation, and not knowing that I didn't need to control that situation, but it really affected me. It was for the first time ever to be in a relationship and post-relationship breakup situation where I was, bordering depressed, which was really one of those situations. You're just like, me? How could that ever happen to me? I'm the person that's always positive, But it really hit me hard. And when it disrupts your life so bad that even those you were trying to mentor at that period of time, I was mentoring a young cousin of mine who stayed with me while I was in Pittsburgh, and where his family was trying to help him figure out what he wanted to do with his life, and they suggested that he hang out with me in Pittsburgh for 2 weeks when I was still with the Pirates. And I gave him tasks every day, which included taking photos of beautiful things that stop you, use my camera, do this, which means stay at a cafe and have one conversation with one person each day that you're here. And I think that's when the formalness of the Grasshopper Project actually started. But he's seen me when I've gone down too, so it's such an interesting thing for him to see me help him be the man he currently is today, but also see me at my deepest depths, because things
At one
were
of your
just so
darkest
flustered.
moments.
Yeah, he was there with me, so he didn't know what was happening because he was trying to follow my lead, but then he couldn't see me at my, at my best. So it was tough because I was trying to juggle it, and it was tough for me to be the person for him when I was going through some stuff myself. So
He was your mirror. He was shining your light back at you.
I know he was, and obviously being in limbo as an entrepreneur, it affects you with everything because now you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You're starting your process, and then it just gives you this massive dip.
It's debilitating.
Yeah, it really is. So, but thankfully, some time spent in Jerusalem, where I was there working with a professional athlete, and I found myself the calmness to be able to get down back to the ground level, and then that's followed by the Leaders in Performance Sports kind of summit, which then followed Burning Man, which then followed A-Fest, and then it kind of went back up, and then it was the next year that my life completely changed, so, which I am here today because of that. So,
Who would you attest your light to?
That's a great question. Probably never been asked that question before. I think the light in me comes from the people that I mentor, my family. I think I've been blessed with such a phenomenal family unit growing up that my father, for example, sacrificed having nice cars because he wanted us to be educated on the world, bringing us to places that many people haven't. We traveled a lot, and my father would always say, if I bought the cars that I wanted, then you would never seen half the world that you and your siblings would have seen. And he's always said that education is something that no one else can ever take from you. So that education is not just the education of books, but also the education of life and experience. And so he's been a massive force in my life. And my mother has been a massive force of being a rock and believing in something bigger than ourselves. And my sister has always been somebody I've always made sure that she's good, because as an older brother, it was my task for that. And my brother, on the other hand, has been my life's inspiration, because I've inspired him when he was younger, and now he inspires me. So, which has become almost another part of the genesis of my love to mentor people.
That's so beautiful.
That's a great question.
What does Lightstyle mean to you?
I think having a lifestyle is harnessing the deepest light within you, the fire that burns within you, and to live that fire as you go about your everyday life. Having your own personal lifestyle allows you to know that it's possible to always find the light in the dark, and that it's always possible to then share that light to somebody else. I think that is what lifestyle is to me.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here, Erwin. I love you, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so happy we got to share your light with our people.
I mean, much gratitude, of course, my love, for having me here. That may be the first time you've called me Erwin, which is really weird.
No, no. When I'm mad at you, I call you Erwin.
That's my mother. Wow. No, she actually doesn't say that. But no, thank you very much for having me here. I'm glad to share my story to your audience, and to be able to see if they can learn some lessons in my life to then share back to theirs. So
It's a ripple effect.
yes, it is.
And I'm sure you have inspired many, many, many people.
Much gratitude.
I love you.
I love you.
If you guys like this episode of the Lightstyle interview series, please share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to hit subscribe.